had indicated they are waiting for legal opinion on the language related to transferring employees, and the Emergency Management Commission discussed the agreement the city approved. And with the exception of some concerns over transferring employee language, the majority consensus was in favor of the agreement. Ron presented information relating to the commercial property tax legislation passed this spring. Dunn advised the council to be avoiding funding any new initiatives and be cautious of considering increases of funding. The new legislation will decrease revenues for the city. State backfill is designed to soften the impact, but it is unknown what the net effect will be due to the variables in the property tax system and the legislation. With no other business to discuss, the meeting was concluded at 7:11 p.m. With that, I'll open it up to public comment if there's any.
I've got some comments.
Okay.
Check them out.
Is it in regard to what you're on the agenda for? No.
Well, it's a little related, or
We can just. Is it all right if we wait until we get to you on the agenda?
yeah, that'd be fine.
We'll let you talk then.
All right.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Which would be right now. Public hearing regarding request from Milton Heidi and North Iowa Rentals LLC for consideration of the existence of nuisance violations at 618 3rd Avenue Southeast, 222 Knight Place Northeast, and 455 12th Avenue Northeast in Hampton, Iowa. And go ahead, Mr. Heidi.
Well, I guess as far as the nuisances, I wanted to comment on some other things first, and that's what I perceive to be selective prosecution or selective persecution, however you want to call it. But I think I've been getting picked on by the city. I'm kind of getting tired of it. Not just from you, but I mean, Dumont used to do the same thing too. People buy properties that before they buy them, they seem to be okay, and then somebody buys them and wants to do some work and fix them up, and then it seems like the cities like to complain a lot. As far as some other things I noticed around town, it seems to me that a lot of the laws or rules are just being selectively enforced. I noticed, I don't know who owns the property, but I think maybe it's Councilman Dick Luckensmeyer. But I noticed a lot of branches on the sidewalk along that property maybe like 2 weeks ago. And they were on the property for quite a few days. I mean, I'm not talking on the grass, I'm talking on the sidewalk. And plenty of other witnesses also saw it. I doubt if any tickets were written. I saw a pole with a basketball backboard on it, kind of like leaning against the Hampton travel planner. Didn't look like it was even fastened. I doubt if anybody got a ticket over that. Right now by the Hampton travel planner, there's some pallets on the north side of the building. I doubt if any warnings or tickets are written over that issue. I don't want to sound like I'm picking on Dick, but I happen to be going by some of his places more often. But twice this spring, I was in that area and the semi was blocking the road, unloading stuff over by his place. I doubt if that's legal. I mean, we're going to enforce every law, dot every I, cross every T. Then the city should do that. And there should be no tolerance for anyone. Lately, close to Dick's mailbox, I believe his mailbox is 616 12th Avenue Northeast, maybe like 30 feet east of it, I see someone burned a stump up lately. And when I asked the police chief about making fires this spring, he said you can't burn this spring. And I do know I read somewhere where you can't burn stumps. So I'm kind of curious who burned up that stump. I wonder if anybody got fined or ticketed or arrested or jailed. And there's fresh wood put inside that stump recently. It was there earlier today. I noticed that Steve Harm's residence, there's a garage there. I had people complain to me about that garage probably like 8 years ago. Siding has been falling off of it, has rotted off, especially the east and the west side. It didn't bother me until I started getting tickets, but There's holes in the roof of the garage. You can see it from Highway 65, especially towards the north side. There are some holes. You have a pile of brush,
Pile of brush, where's the brush?
small brush pile.
By the intake?
Yeah.
That's leaving as of today. All that is from the previous storms.
Well, it's been there
Okay,
for-
now, what's this been? I've
I've been there for a
listened to a
month.
lot of what you've been saying. No, I haven't been there a month.
Yeah,
But anyway, when we're talking about your properties, how many times have you been cited in the last year?
I don't know.
5, 10?
I don't think that many.
Well, when you're trying to dress up a property and clean something up, how come you got a whole 5 or 6 ricks of firewood sitting in a property that has no lights, has no water? And you know, yeah, I've got an old garage, and as soon as I got the money, if you want to give me $5,000, I'll tear it down. But I'm getting there, and I try to keep it cleaned up. I pick stuff up as fast as it falls off. It's not one of them buildings going to fall in on you.
Well, it's unsightly. I've heard people complain about it.
I agree, it's unsightly, and as soon as you got $5 grand, you can go ahead and do it for me, I appreciate it.
Well, I don't want to, but, I mean, you can't.
Well, what about that other one that you got down there
Trying to
full
investigate things.
of aluminum sticking out of that garage a couple weeks back? That's not unsightly?
I don't know anything about that one, I guess.
Well, if it's your building, it's your garage. You put it in there, I seen you putting some of it in there.
Well, if it was, it wouldn't be aluminum. I mean, maybe it was steel or something, I don't know.
It was from a set of bleachers from Iowa Falls, I know exactly where it came from.
Okay,
And then they had to find you to get it out of there, and then you bring it home to us, we don't want it.
Well, some of that is wood and steel that I was gonna use, for some construction.
Well, let's get it done. Take it out there to your acreage and put it out there. They like it there. Of course, you may not have enough room to put it there. And as far as I'm concerned, Dick's an operating business. I would imagine a lot of stuff move around his yard all day long.
Well, I realize that, but is it legal for a semi to block traffic in town? I don't know.
I think we allow for, if they're unloading, we allow a particular amount of time for them to get it unloaded. You'd have to ask the chief on that, but I think I'm pretty close to right.
There was some other stuff.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yeah, go ahead.
As much as this is a very stimulating conversation, the public hearing is to deal with Milton, Heidi's property and so forth. So as a point of order, I would like to keep the discussion specific. If there are other items that need to be addressed, then we can do so, but allow Doug Tarr that opportunity to do that. But I would rather stick to the topic.
Well, I figured some of this was what I was going to say at the public comment part.
Do you have much more?
Oh, I could shorten it up a little bit.
I would appreciate it.
Okay, well, I do have a thing, and I'm not sure who owns the property. I believe it's Jim Davies, councilman. I noticed, if it's the house, I think it is, right straight west of that property, there's a chain link fence, and I noticed some tires stacked right up against the fence. Looks like they
That's
don't,
not my property.
where the tires are, you mean?
You mean, what's the address?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's get to the point on the agenda here, your public hearing.
No, it's not my property. Those aren't my items.
Right, but I'm wondering if someone does have them, because the police chief complained to me when I had one tire on a rim that was hooked to some hitch thing, then I'm wondering why anyone has tires in this town. If they're right next to your property, you should have done something about it, or complained, or had people.
Mr. Heidi, are you prepared to talk about the items on the agenda?
I guess, if you don't want to give me much chance to talk.
I've given you a chance to talk. You seem to want to go on a assassination list of the council. And
Well, I have stuff for the city.
If
There's
you-
3
if
tires
you-
right by your city building right now that have been there for a month, not even on rims, by a brick building in between there and a dumpster.
have you reported them to the chief?
No, I figured you couldn't see them with his own eyes.
That's your first line. of complaint.
Can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
A few years back, I'm just going along with you because I had a former chief come to me, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I had too much dog stool in my front yard. I hadn't gotten out to clean it. And as soon as he left, my daughters and I went out and picked it up. I understand what you're saying, sir, but unless, if these other people want to come forward and complain about our issues, that's fine. I think what we're trying to get at is how many times have you been addressed about your matters? And my other question was, in Dumont, what did they complain about? I'm kind of new to all this, so in Dumont, was it something, your properties that they were complaining about?
Virtually the same thing.
And that was what?
I guess there was something scheduled for Dumont today. I obviously wasn't gonna go to it. I did fax them something. They complained I have at least 3 houses I rent out in Dumont. One of them, apparently, a little bit of grass was too tall in the ditch. And the tenant has since mowed it.
Good.
And then they complained that there was too much junk around the house and garbage. And they gave me till, I think, June 27th to clean that up. And since then, the tenant has just moved out lately, and my contention is that the tenant really should be getting the citation, not the landlord.
I agree, but it's the person that owns the property. And what I'm kind of getting at is, when that chief of police came to my door that day, I was embarrassed, terribly embarrassed. I'm embarrassed right now talking about it. But what did I do? I went out and I took care of that problem. I remember the last time you were here, you were at least, I want to say 20 minutes to a half an hour late, and you were just taking care of some of the, and I'm not picking on you, sir, but I'm just trying to, you were out fixing problems that I think had been addressed months prior to that, and you were fixing them that night that we were going to address the problem.
Well, I mean, that's possible. But there's been talk, how many other nuisance things? I mean, actually, until I got these 2 here, I don't think I've ever gotten whatever Doug Tar, or whatever you call it.
Okay, Dick, Steve, have you guys gotten nuisances or any complaints, formal complaints about the items he's brought up?
I've had a couple people ask. In fact, when I was getting ready, I talked to Doug about it, and him and I both looked at it together. Yeah, it's an eyesore, but no, it's not going to fall down and kill anybody. It's still structurally sound enough. It's standard.
Okay, and I'm just asking,
Yeah.
so it was addressed?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as...
I'll make a quick comment in response to your question and address your issue just a little bit. I think the issue here is intent to show some progress of what's going on, and Milton, you haven't done that. There have been times when Bob has come to me and said, Dick, there's something there you need to move. I move it. The same as you with the dog manure. The branches you were talking about were clippings off from a red dogwood hedge that was there, that were cut so that there'd be better visibility and trimmed up so the property would look nicer. With the rain we had, yeah, they were there for a few days, but they were there for maybe a little over a week, and they were moved. And the basketball hoop was a leftover from a garage sale that someone else had. It's gone. So the whole thing, I think, Milton, is that it looks like you have a propensity to aggravate rather than to help. And that's the whole concern that we have here.
Well, I mean, I respectfully disagree. I mean, as far as the 222 9th Place Northeast, there was a window or 2 open. I didn't open it, but I guess when the Romanian moved out, some people took some windows apart to help move the stuff out, and they didn't fix it. I closed those up fairly quickly. I cut all the trees that were around the property, around the house and the garage. There was a tree that grew up through the steps that had been there probably for 8 years, but it had to be there way before I bought the property. I've kept them both mowed up quite a bit. I disagree with what you're saying. One thing is, I was going to board up some windows on the house. I believe it's 618 3rd Avenue. But according to Doug Tarr's letter, he says I can't board up a window. Well, that makes me wonder, why can't I board up a window? I see plenty of windows boarded up in town. I mean,
I think a lot of those windows that you're talking about are on 2 damn properties that are waiting to be tore down.
well, I've seen plenty of houses that are.
Well, I don't know what you're specifically talking about, but, and as far as that goes, Mayor, I think we beat this horse into the ground.
I have one more comment, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you remember, maybe 18 months ago, maybe a little bit longer ago, when we had a tremendous number of complaints about your property at 9th Place, northeast. I came to you and talked to you. It was about the wood that was there that was accumulating, and it was out of control. I came to you with a proposal to provide my equipment and my labor to help you move that wood, and you agreed to do it. And the very next day, after I spent my time with you helping clean the property up, you allowed more wood to be hauled in. How do you explain that, being helpful, trying to be helpful in this situation? That's what I'm talking about, Bill. We spent time together cleaning it up, and the next day, you brought the same material back in.
I don't recall the specifics. I mean, I remember some wood, but the Romanian was living there, or gonna live there, and it was his wood. He had it brought in from Iowa Falls or somewhere. And then it wasn't there that much longer. I mean, then it was moved.
You're not gonna get any further.
No, I'd like to hear from Doug on the properties, or Chief Schaefer, either one.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, what's been written up on Mr. Hady's properties stem from complaints. Matter of fact, I've had neighbors next to the property at 618 3rd Avenue Southeast claim they actually have been catching rodents. They've witnessed animals and such in that area. At that property. They've actually trapped some. I think neighbors get to a point where, they have no other recourse than to, rely on us as city officials. Basically, definition of deteriorated property, real property maintained in such a condition that it is or becomes defective, unsightly, or in such condition of deterioration or disrepair, including but not limited to broken or missing windows or doors, brush or trees growing in or near foundation or through porch floors, unshingled or fallen roofs, rotten trim, rotten columns or porches, that the same causes substantial depreciation of the property values of the surrounding properties, or is materially detrimental to properties and improvements in real property that by reason of fire damage, decay, or lack of maintenance has deteriorated to the extent its fair market value is less than 1/2 the market value of comparable real property that has no deterioration. That's definition in our city's code. As far as singling somebody out, here is a spreadsheet with a number of properties that have recently received structural notices and that I'm working on. And basically starting as anyone, a couple months ago we had some people in this room, a couple citizens. They wanted stricter enforcement. That's what we're doing. We're picking the worst first and the complaint basis first. If someone has a complaint about a particular property, bring that complaint forward and we'll verify the validity of it. Enforcement's tough. You have to be reasonable, yet there is the letter of the law. We understand that. Another thing, nuisance mowing. Here's the nuisance mowing log. I don't think we're singling anybody out. I believe there's close to 80 nuisance mowing properties that have been served notice this year. Mr. Heidi and I have gone through things before on different occasions. I think Chief Schaefer and Mr. Heidi have gone through things before. Unfortunately, a little bit of hearsay here. The person's not here. However, unfortunately, I've heard that it's gotten back to me that Mr. Heidi believes it to be funny at times where it's almost competitive amongst friends as to who's getting a notice and who's not. That's unfortunate. I've stopped by Mr. Heidi's properties, tried to talk to him in person before. Matter of fact, the chief and I both stopped this spring at one point, had a discussion with Mr. Heidi about another property that he's in care of. It just continues, unfortunately, and that's basically where we're coming from, but as you can see, no one is being singled out by any means. You know, I think there's a neighbor in the audience. If that neighbor wants to make comment, I would ask that he do make a comment, because he does live next to one of these. Mr. Sheeler, how many times have you contacted City Hall recently regarding the property?
I've been up here probably 3, 4, 5 times maybe.
And, you know, we also have a history with Mr. Heidi that we'll either get an appeal on an agenda, or we will have an infraction. And then the very last day of the notice or warning period, things get done at the last minute. On more than one occasion, this has happened over the years. Basically, that's where we're at. I'm just trying to do the best I can with what we have. There are other properties out there, and if people come forward with them, that's great. And I've also started. We have a lot on our plate. You know, I think between the police department and myself, starting out with the worst ones first and the ones we've got complaints on, that's kind of the direction that we've started. So I think we have a good start here, and you can tell there's photographs of these issues. I think you've all been given those. So if you have further comment or questions, please let me know.
Did the chief want to add anything?
I don't want to take up a lot of the council's time anymore on this, but what Mr. Heidi is talking about as far as being singled out, we've had 105 nuisance CRs since the first of the year until today. I just had 2 other ones that we opened up today. The properties that we're talking about, I talked with him after giving him a notice. He did a fairly good job getting them cleaned up. Again, I know that he filed appeal, which is his right to do. He had most of that stuff taken care of by the time that he filed the appeal, or up to the date that he was supposed to have the hearing with the council, and then got some of the things finished up afterwards. He also did go and take care of another item that I told him that, you know, if you don't take care of it now, if it sits there, you'll probably get another notice. And he also shared a concern that he had about one of the neighbors having a brush pile because he was cited for brush pile. Do I go around and write up notices for everybody who has a brush pile? No, I don't. Again, there was a numerous amount of violations on his properties, not just one brush pile. And I told him that, you know, what we try to do is Mr. Torres said, is we try to go and do the worst first, unless we get a complaint on a property, and then we take care of that. With the stump burning, we aren't every place and don't have 10 officers to be out there on every street. So we don't know about it unless somebody calls in and complains. Somebody called in and complained, we would have gone and taken care of that, because it is against law to be burning in the city limits, unless it's in a fire ring and it's a recreational fire. I guess I don't know what else to say other than the fact that he's not being singled out. It's a matter of the amount of problems at the residences that he had. And again, even the other one that was down on First Street, just down the road here, garbage sitting out on the front porch. There were other people in that same neighborhood got a notice for about the same thing. So as far as being singled out, that is definitely not a crime. Anybody's got any questions for me other than that, I'm about all I have to say.
Well, I've got a question.
Okay.
You mentioned something about the house on First Street, 120th First Street. Did you notice just north of that property, because I believe one of the things you wrote up was an office chair outside. Did you notice the very next house to the north has had an office chair outside since last fall, and 2 wooden chairs that were broke up? Did you ever notice that?
I didn't, not necessarily because I didn't look, but again, and what I just got through discussing is it's the totality of the circumstances. It isn't just an office chair, okay? I probably wouldn't even have written you a notice for an office chair. I would have came to you and say, Milton, could you take care of that? I might not even have done that if it was just an office chair. But when you have garbage sitting on the front porch, then it becomes a different matter.
And also, I believe you complained that I had a topper sitting on the ground at one location, and you said that would be next. Has anyone in this town in the last year been warned or cited for having a topper sitting on the ground?
They probably have not, but again, I'm trying to explain to you is, it wasn't just the topper, it was the wood that was sitting outside, the, you know, the metal that was sitting outside. Again, it was the totality of the circumstances on that property. I don't think that I went and gave you a notice for the little bit of brush pile that's sitting on the east side of that house. And, you know, if I was gonna go, and if I wanted to go and run it by the letter of the law, technically I should give you a notice for the, you know, the little brush pile that's in there. But I know that people are gonna go and have small brush piles until they can get them hauled out to the dump. They aren't gonna haul them out there every week. Okay, so again, it was the totality of those residences is the reason why you got those notices.
Okay, and would you say, I mean, as far as say 2229 place, have you driven by lately? I mean, is it out of compliance today?
For what my part of the nuisance stuff is, no, okay? You close the windows, all the rest of the stuff is gone. Is, to my knowledge today, there is no nuisance there other than if there's something with the house, I don't know.
Doug?
I do actually have that. I was just up there just a short while ago. Have photos of tall weeds around around wood piles. And you can, I mean, we'll just show that for one thing. I mean, that's just one more example of stuff that continues to take place. Now, I'm not saying that other people don't have weeds around their wood piles, Milton, but what I'm getting at is that, yeah, there is violation there, actually, if it's letter of the law.
Well, but did you ever send a notice of the tall weeds by the wood pile? I mean, this is something you're adding later.
No, you just want to know if there's any violations there today, and I'm letting you know that, yeah, there are.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else under the public hearing, then we'll go ahead and,
Well, I'd like to comment again in response to what some people
if
said.
you can make it brief.
Yeah, as far as, there's been talking about citations and this and that, I mean, to this day, I've never been fined 1 penny ever for a nuisance or in Dumont or Hampton or anywhere. Most of them are warnings or they're I mean, I believe I've complied, otherwise I would have been fined. Maybe I did it kind of late, but I still might have complied, you know, under the deadline. As far as the neighbor, Mr. Sheeler, I've seen him over there plenty of times. He's never said one word to me. You've never complained to me, not once.
You never want to talk to me anyway.
That's not true.
Why when I sit out on my swing, are you that, you always go to the northeast side of the house and stay over there?
I'm busy working. I'm not afraid to talk to anyone.
I see that.
I mean, I'm not afraid to talk to you or anyone else. I mean,
I see that you're pretty busy, that you can't come over and talk.
well, I could. I didn't know you wanted to talk to me.
No, I didn't want to talk to you, because you didn't want to talk to me.
Okay, can we wrap it up?
Forget it.
Well, I think if you look at the house at whatever that address, 618 3rd Avenue, I did get the water and sewer hooked up lately. I've been working in the house. I have electric service to the house. I had the gas turned on recently. He checked the appliances, had the furnace working, we had the natural gas stove working. I plan on moving in that house very soon. I brought some clothes in there today. I brought some other furniture in there. I actually bought a TV at a yard sale from Ron Dunn. I put that in the house. I realize there's a little siding work maybe needs to be done, but I don't see a major problem with that house. It looks a hell of a lot better than from when I first bought it.
I really don't know about that. I think there's woodpecker holes, there's 3 woodpecker holes on the north side of the siding on it. The windows have been open for 3 or 4 years. I don't think it's really livable. You want to live in it, I guess you live in it.
Well, I've only owned it, I don't think I've even owned it 1 year. So
You owned it 1 year already. You got bought in June of last year. You had a problem with it, couldn't get it settled up till July. So,
I don't know the dates, but I just know
you
it's
just
probably
don't
been.
want to know the dates.
Well, no, that's not
Council need to
it.
hear anything else? Okay. Go ahead and close the public hearing then at 6:34. Gonna need a motion on whether to approve or deny Mr. Heidi's appeal.
Move to deny.
Second.
I'll second.
A motion by Steve and a second by Jim to deny Mr. Heidi's appeal. Need anything else with that motion on?
No, just that he has to comply with the deadlines and the notices, I guess you might wanna add.
Okay, do we need a time frame then?
No,
Okay.
yeah, just whatever the notices say.
All right,
Well, I'd like, I mean, if it's past the deadline, I mean, wouldn't I get 30 days or?
Bob, Chief,
Yes.
you wanna
You wanna
council to
address the
specify a deadline of compliance?
I guess so.
How
The
about
item-
yesterday?
No, the day before.
The items that are on the appeal, I'm not sure, I don't think there are things that I was aware of. I think they're structural things for the residences, I believe. Am I correct? Yeah. So I don't.
30 days were specified initially, but due to the fact that I wrote these under the municipal code instead of our other code, typically gives 20 days for the appeal process. Our city code gives that 30 days that he actually has for the deadline to appeal. City attorney's been through these with me a little bit. So, you know, reasonable, courts are gonna look at reasonable. If we give Mr. Heidi another 30 days, that would not be unreasonable, for considering they are structural issues to get a chimney repaired and fixed.
So then I'll wait till day 29 and we go through all this again?
There's no secondary appeal
Okay.
okay.
30 days from what date, Doug?
from today.
Steve, do you wanna amend your motion? Jim, second or?
Protesting may all amend.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we have a motion by Steve and a second by Jim to deny the appeal, requesting compliance within 30 days of today's date. Any further discussion from the council? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, under old business, we have none. New business.
Oh, this might be new business. I understood I had 2 other appeals, had to do with tall grass or something like that.
Those were all wrapped up into the same item.
Not really, because even one of them's a different property, a different address.
I have one item on the agenda. They're on the agenda as one item, and they've been dealt with. Next item on the agenda is Kim Manning with the Hampton Public Library to discuss consideration of proceeding with vacation of alley east of the library prior to construction of the new library parking lot. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Well, I'm here to talk about improving. These are the plans that Larry Adamstraw drew up, and these are the plans that Doug Carr and Larry went over. And we are just now taking bids, but when Doug looked over the plans, he noticed that we were planning on closing the alley, which had been discussed previously in 2009, but it's hard for me to know what direction I'm supposed to take and whose comes first, because I have the foundation, I have the city, and then I have the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees has known about this for quite some time. The foundation only recently found out, and since they're the ones expected to come up with most of the money, Main Street of Iowa is also involved, and I think I mentioned that the last time I was here, and they've drawn up a conceptual actual photograph of what the library would look like. And I don't have multiple copies, but I guess what we're asking for is some guidance here on how to go about getting the alley completely closed, or maybe just our half. I don't know how that works.
Well, I can, chapter 137, Kim, which I have copies over on the table. I'm not sure if you grabbed one of these. It's a
I did.
one-page. It talks about the process for vacation and disposal of streets, and also goes for alleys as well. They're referred by the council, if they so choose, to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission has a public hearing. Nearby property owners are notified. It's published in the newspaper of the public hearing, and then Planning and Zoning makes a recommendation. Then it goes back to the council. If the Planning and Zoning Commission makes a recommendation to vacate, then an ordinance amendment is drafted, and then after 3 readings, then it's approved. So that's the process. Council first, then P&Z, and then back to council.
Okay, that's what you told me on the phone, so I've got that now.
Yeah.
So are there any questions for me, I guess?
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Have you had any conversations with the postmaster?
Back in 2009, and I don't know who the postmaster would have been in 2009, I know that the post office agreed to it.
Well, see, that'd have to be something that
No.
they would come to the
Right.
public hearing and they'd have to make a statement.
Yes.
And plus, anybody that'd be affected with that alley would have to, you
Yes,
know, they gotta have an opportunity to speak yea or nay.
I agree, I agree.
And then the next thing I'd be concerned about is Doug. What about infrastructure? How much of that do we have to move involving that alley?
I think any infrastructure that may lie beneath the alley, we would need to check with Mid-American to see what they have. However, anything that the city would have, we could always use other alternate methods to replace or repair anything.
That's one thing I'd be concerned about, because that alley's been there a number of years. And there could be lots of surprises underneath that alley.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that your board's been on board with this for some time, and the foundation, do you know about how long ago?
Oh, well, they found out at their annual meeting in April, and they're meeting again on June 21st at 8 a.m. in the morning to discuss. We've gotten some of the bids in. We're looking, obviously, for, more bids, not just the one, but, so we're just doing a preliminary look at first the foundation said to me that we should try to raise a little money too, in, not just take all of it from the existing funds. And before it even hardly got out, I had an anonymous donor donate $25,000. She would really like to see the project get done. She feels it's an eyesore, that the way the parking lot looks now. And the alley the pavement is crumbling. And the high school students came and made a commercial. So I think we are going to, try to raise some money. And the basic reason we're doing this is really mostly for children that utilize the library. I know, Valerie, your girls used to come in. And it's just, they're crossing that busy street. And sometimes you have daycare providers with 3, 4, 5 children that they're bringing to story time. And what they've done in the past is double park in the post office parking lot. And the post office is pretty lenient, but they'll call us when that happens because then, it's obstructing postal workers from their jobs and the people that are dropping off mail. So that's what we're really looking for. It's just a safe way for children to access the building. And if I point that around, Diane probably stopped at my office one day and took a look at that because she wasn't really all about it, but when she saw the Main Street conceptual picture, then she thought, we're not really changing the outdoor look of the building other than the one window would become a door. And then we would have the outdoor. When the high school gets handed out their laptops, many of the students who get a laptop don't necessarily go home to an internet connected home. So they're coming to the library, they're climbing up the fire escape, which is right outside my office. I can hear everything they're saying. I had to put a note up there saying, you can't come up here. We put a picnic table out there. The paint's already peeling off. It's just a hassle. And I think, we almost always have people sitting in the post office's parking lot in their cars accessing our Wi-Fi after hours. So I think it would be a real plus. In fact, was it Diane probably brought me that in? Anyway, one of the things we even looked at was there's some, and I know this would be later. This is not part of the original project, but you could even put a couple of their artificial rocks that the kids could climb on while their parents are on Wi-Fi, because I think that's probably how our air conditioner was vandalized.
Council, you want to chime in with discussion on this? I have my thoughts about ways to move forward. I think the project sounds fantastic, but as far as following the procedure, I think my first thought is I'd like planning and zoning to hear from both the board and the foundation, and then the foundation can also come and talk to us about their plans for funding, because I wouldn't want to, I guess, go too far with it if we, if we end up flat on funding, and I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think from what you're telling me, everybody seems to be on board and behind it. I think the project can happen and move forward, but I just want to make sure that we're following proper procedure and protocol.
Yes, I do too.
I think that's what I'd like to see first is have the board, Linda or somebody else, and then the foundation talk to planning and zoning.
Yes.
About what the plans are specifically, and then planning and zoning can report their findings to the council.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
I think that makes perfect sense. You said you got one bid in for the whole project?
No, well, we have a separate electrical bid, and the reason the electrical bid is separate is we're actually putting a lot of things into this project. The library does not have any smoke detectors that ring at the police station. So the electrical bid includes that, which is, I think, a real safety concern. We just, you were there, Dick, we had that gentleman plant that aronia bush in the backyard, and he commented what a beautiful building it is. And, he's been going to public libraries all over the 99 counties planting these aronia bushes. So, I just would like to see the building, if it were to catch on fire, obviously you'd probably lose the contents, but the structure is brick. And so I think it could be saved if the firefighters could get there soon enough. So that's one of my main concerns, is I would like to see those, I don't know if they're electric or how that works, but those fire detectors, smoke detectors put in. And then we're uplighting the building, which made the electrical bid fairly high. We're doing that, yes, for beauty, but also for practicality, for obviously to keep us from being vandalized again or burglarized at the worst. So there are multiple reasons. It isn't all just aesthetic, for sure. There's a lot of practical reasons why we're doing it.
Any other questions for Kim? Thoughts? Discussion?
Preliminary bid, if I put the two together, you're looking at about $200,000. Because we're looking at concrete parking lot, not paved. And Doug and Larry Adams met the other day, and we have the paver reading area and Wi-Fi area. And Doug would like the middle to stay concrete, but Larry hadn't properly thought of how we were gonna drain the water off of it, so that's gonna add more to the bid. And what was the other thing there?
I think drainage and the papers were the two. Oh, a sidewalk in the middle of the block, probably entrance
Without
to the
alley.
parking lot.
Yes, and it is 30 parking spots actually can be in that area. And on Tuesdays on the town, I can see there's about 50 cars sitting out there.
Sure.
So it should be a nice thing for a lot of things, not just library stuff, but certainly really benefit the library and the patrons who use it.
So has your board seen these drawings?
No, they've seen the conceptual drawings by Main Street, but they have not seen these, I just got these. So when I got them, I immediately got a hold of Doug, and the foundation will meet on the 21st, because they don't know either.
Would there be any hours of parking in there, or like a time limit, like would people be able to park there all night? I'm just curious, and I don't know whether you...
A lot of times, people will ask to park there for the day or the night, and I was telling them you have to call City Hall, and I said, usually you tell them no, don't you, huh?
I haven't had many calls like that.
No, there aren't too many. I had somebody wanted to put a car for sale in there one day, and I told them to call City Hall, and they said, never mind, we won't do it. And then there was a postal truck who wanted to park.
People don't want to ask City Hall questions.
No. There was a postal truck who wanted to park in there, and I've never seen him park in there, so I take it he must have called or didn't call, whichever. But no, we don't have a real problem with that.
Because I didn't know, do the other lots have like a 48-hour
Yes.
limit, so I don't know if that would apply. Again, just...
I would think we would want that to apply. We wouldn't want transient people to set up a miniature campground there.
Unless you charge rent or something.
Yes. Okay, so I'll just report back later then?
Yeah, I think,
Nice.
Yes, aren't they?
does P&Z have a meeting coming up, or?
Doug, is there a scheduled P&Z meeting, or would this be the you'd have to schedule one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to schedule one, because this would have to be published and all that good stuff. We have a meeting coming up next week, so it'll probably be another month before we would have that on an agenda for P and Z.
Linda, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. Deer in the headlights. Car off car. All right. Thank you very much, Jim. Okay. Next is consideration of approval of proposed training fire by Hampton Fire Department at 409 First Street Southwest. Doug, your comments on this?
I do, this is the tentative date, I believe, that the chief has prepared for this fire. We've been waiting for a long time and trying to hustle up, because I still got a few dollars in the budget to finish the whole thing if we can get it down. But weather obviously dictates for the fire department, but look forward to getting that to come down, and hopefully the neighbors will appreciate it as well.
Okay. Any questions on the training fire? Entertain a motion?
So moved to approve.
Second.
Second.
A motion by Dick and a second by Val to approve the training fire. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consideration of auditing firm auditing service proposals for fiscal years 2013, 14, and 15. I'll refer comment to City Manager Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. We sent out a request for proposals from auditing firms for auditing of fiscal year 2013, 2014, and 2015. We received three. Hogan Hansen was $12,500, $13,000, $13,500, for a total of $39,000. Dennis P. Donovan, CPA, $12,000, $12,500, $13,000, total of $37,500. Gardner Thompson, $12,500, $13,000, $13,750, for a total of $39,250. As we talked about at the workshop, the city has experience with with people in all three of these firms having prior audited the city of Hampton. The low proposal is $37,500 from Dennis P. Donovan, CPA firm. Are there any questions?
What was the last audit price for the fiscal year?
I don't recall exactly. It was fairly close to the 38 or 39,000 mark.
Okay.
Or excuse me, 13. I think it was 13 or 13.5. Sorry, it was a one-year deal.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. All right.
That was Hogan and Hanson.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion, then?
I make a motion to accept the auditing services proposal from Donovan, CPA, at the price of $37,500 over the next 3 years.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Dick and a second by Steve to accept the auditing services proposal submitted by Donovan of Charles City for auditing services for fiscal years 13, 14, and 15 in the amount of $37,500. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of claims tonight in the amount of $555,686.45, also known as your right leg and your left leg. This is three big dollar items here. Bond payments on Oak Hill Special Assessment, Highway 65 project, and Aquatic Center. That accounts for nearly $400,000 of the claims. Paying down city debt. Take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
To approve.
Yes.
Motion by Steve and a second by Val to approve the claims in the amount of $555,686.45. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda tonight that includes approving previous minutes as drafted from the Thursday, May 23rd, 2013 regular session meeting, scheduling the next regular session for Thursday, June 27th, 2013 at 6 p.m. in City Council chambers. Approval of liquor licensing renewal for El Paisito Family Mexican Restaurant at 106 4th Street Northeast in Hampton. Approval of liquor licensing renewal for El Valle Tienda at 212 First Avenue Northwest in Hampton, Iowa. And approval of renewal of tobacco sales permit for Get and Go Convenience Store number 9 at 319 Central Avenue East in Hampton. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Steve, second by Jim to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Staff reports, Fire Chief Wilkinson is not with us. Police Chief Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, City Council. Nuisances, again, as I stated earlier, we've had 105 nuisance CRs for the year, from January 1st to June 13th. We've had 6 of those CRs from June 1st to June 13th, of which 2 of those are closed and 4 are still open. We continue to work on them when we can, and try to make efforts to, again, get the worst ones first. We don't necessarily single somebody out. If we get a complaint, we follow up on the complaint, or we try to go and find things that are major things to take care of first. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. I'd like to thank all the basically first responders that assisted yesterday, and it's great that nobody was seriously injured or anything like that. However, I do have some concerns, and that is I know that the sirens went off, and when I was finally able to get out of the police department and go and assist in watching the storms and the tornadoes, there were a lot of people that were just milling around, walking uptown, whatever. When those sirens go off, that means that you need to take shelter. That doesn't mean go outside and look to see what's going on or whatever. That's take shelter. And I guess the reason why I think that's so important is because when I was out watching the storms, and this is the first time in my 34 years that I have seen a tornado or a funnel cloud, and watching those two, they were just west of the city. They did dissipate, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have formed right over the city of Hampton and dropped down and injure people. So I guess one of the things that we need to get out there is when you hear those sirens, you need to go down and seek shelter. The second thing is there is no all clear, okay? If you hear the siren going off again, that means that they're still there and they're trying to warn you that you need to take shelter. The all clear is when you hear it on the radio that things are safe to come back out or whatever, and I'm talking about the radio station or whatever, that is the time to come out, not when you hear the siren going off again. But I just want to make sure the public knows that, because I want everybody to be safe. Does anybody have any questions?
One comment on the nuisances. I think you've done an excellent job tempering your enforcement of those policies with some grace and good judgments as far as when to push it forward further. And your patience today in court was admirable too.
Thank you.
Right. Chamber, excuse me.
We're waiting for
Was court
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Doug Tar?
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a long meeting, I'll be quick. First of all, the West Park Diamonds update that I promised you. I have talked to Mike Harper. He got with Scott Stillwell from Mid-American. We put together a bit of a game plan that's going to be cost effective for us. And the city did some work, and we've already completed what we were going to complete on that, meaning get the control panels more stable, which we've done, and padlocking and the ability to padlock the control panels once we are stable and in good shape. There's one last thing we're waiting on, and that is what would make Mid-American pleased too, is we need a dummy plate basically, or a plate that goes over when you do open one of the panels to flip a breaker. There's no dummy panel inside, or switch panel basically. That way there's not wires exposed. When you open the panel, you can accidentally get zapped. So we are, Mike was getting with Hampton Heating. I called Mike this evening, but didn't get in touch with him yet. But I do believe, I'm hoping to have him on. It'd be nice to have him on by Friday night, but I can't promise that. But I would definitely think that next Friday night for sure that we'd be able to get those going. So we're on it, and like I said, it's pretty cost effective. It's a couple $100 maybe. So anyway, so you were on a list of calls since I heard back from Mike to know just when. I was hoping to tell you Friday night, but I can't, unfortunately. I can't. But I'll try, and if we do, tomorrow we'll let you know.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Any questions? Big report. A lot of good stuff if you read through it going on.
We decided to burn. Have we notified the individuals who have concerns about burning small brush piles at the compost site?
Yeah, today I made an attempt to call both of them. One was home, one was not. I left a message on the people that were not home to return my call and left them what I wanted to talk about. So, and the other one, they understood the need for burning, just concerned about smoke, and I told them our intent is to keep the smoke at a minimum and not burn large logs and smolder. So we're at Doug's. The employees are working on the site. Anticipate maybe mid to late next week before the site's ready to start the small burns. So
It's been pretty muddy and swampy in there because of the rains and stuff. So we got half of debris taken to where it needed to be, and that we have about 10 more dump truck loads to haul out, and then we should have a nice clean slate. We may haul in a little rock too, a little firmer base maybe. That way it doesn't get so muddy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ron?
I just want to thank the Hampton Police Department and EMS and Hampton Fire Department and everyone else who was out storm spotting last night. It's an important job, and they communicated well with the dispatchers, and so we appreciate the media helping out, informing the community too. And that's about all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Council reports, Nick Lukenspire?
Just one comment about this weekend, the 15th. We've got kind of a mini celebration going on to celebrate the improvements, some of the improvements that we've had in town. So I hope people will take advantage of any of their interests, whether they be at the tennis courts or the aquatic center or the trails. It's going to be a fun weekend. We've got a lot of nice things happening in Hampton, and let's all celebrate together. I had several other things, but Milton took my time up, so I'm done.
Okay. Steve?
Now, I'll be kind of brief. I don't have anything other than my pain medication's wearing off, so I gotta go.
Okay. Craig is absent, Diane is absent, Jim Davies?
Well, I wanted to compliment Mr. Heidi on his strategy of redirection from the issue at hand, which is basically to clean up his property. It'd be really nice if he paid as much attention to his property rather than the preparation of his presentation. And I'm very fascinated by his gamesmanship and what seemed to be a request to be fined. And the last thing, on a lighter note, or a later note, is we are opening the Man of Steel, the new Superman movie, at 12:01 tonight, this morning. So if you don't have anything else to do, come to the movie at midnight. So that's all I have.
Okay. Val?
Hi again, I wanted to thank everybody involved last night for keeping us safe, and I have to be honest, thank you for the reminder, because I'm one of those that goes out to that backyard, and my daughter's coming, Mom, please, So that is a great reminder, because I'm guilty. That's it.
I just want to mention, I think everybody's well aware of the hiring of Tom Creighton as the county's new emergency management coordinator. Very happy to be able to sit on the interview committee and be one of the people that helped select Tom. I think last night proved why it's important to have somebody local, important to have somebody who's familiar with the community. Tom can pretty much hit the ground running on July 5th when he takes over the job. And I'm happy to see that Tom is willing to accept the position, and I know he'll do a good job. So Other than that, I don't have anything else, and, other than the good news of the Emergency Management Commission, agreeing with, consenting at least that the, agreement that the council passed, so, there's no official vote, but, they seem to be in favor of most of what we put forth, so. It's a good sign at least. Now if we could just get a vote. That's all I've got. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 7:05.